welcome to another episode of Tea from the Galaxy, a thirst-quenching podcast for the girls, gays, theys, and astrology baes, where we talk about anything and everything through an astrological lens. So on today's episode, I'm very excited. I feel like you guys are going to love this episode. I have the beautiful Ashley Brooke on with me. We talk about all things spirituality, what our spiritual awakenings were like, and how it just completely shattered our glasses and lens of what this world is really about, and how it opened our eyes to corruptions within big pharma and the health industry, to corruptions in Hollywood and media intake and overconsumption. She told me a beautiful story about reincarnation and the birth of her daughter and how she birthed her daughter unmedicated. She's currently writing an ebook on not fearing childbirth. She has her own organic soap, body butter, and chapstick line too. This girl knows what she's talking about. She's all about holistically and spiritually healing mind, body, and soul. I just loved our conversations, and I feel like you guys are going to love it too. So without further ado, let's just jump into the episode. On this week's podcast episode, I'm very happy to have this guest on, Miss Ashley, a.k.a. Ashley Brooke XO on TikTok. That is where you found me. That's how we connected. I'm so glad that you found my video, then you reached out to me, because once I saw all what you do on TikTok, what you talk about with what you're passionate about, I just completely aligned with you. So basically on TikTok, you're known for uplifting the collective consciousness for people. A lot of your videos that went viral had to do with holistic health, natural remedies, unmedicated birth tips. That was a big one that I saw that I don't know much about. So you can definitely explain a little bit more to me, but I have always been intrigued by that in a way that I always knew I wanted to be a mommy, and I always wanted to give birth naturally. I don't know why. It was just always a feeling that I had at least one of my births, just to feel what it feels like.
I could go on a whole rant about that. That's definitely something I'm extremely passionate about. There's definitely a reason why you want to go unmedicated, and I will allude to that.
Yes. Then going back, tying it all back to you're also very passionate about spreading word and opening awareness to big pharma and, the unhealthy structures, the systems in the world that is especially this country, that's just keeping us sick and, stuff like that. Things with Hollywood, a.k.a. HollyWEIRD. That's another rabbit hole that I've also spiraled down years ago, and my rose-colored glasses have been shattered ever since. I don't look at anything the same at all.
Everything's a lie.
Everything's a lie. Everything is a lie. Even it goes to, there's certain movies I don't watch anymore. There's certain artists that I don't listen to anymore. One thing that definitely intrigued me, I saw that you were making videos about holistically healing your period. What was your initial journey into moving into holistic health? Was that always something that you were intrigued in, or was there something that happened, an event that happened that caused you to want to holistically heal yourself or heal yourself naturally? Was it an upbringing thing?
So upbringing, my mom, she set the tone. She was no soda in the house, things like that. But I still got vaccinated. I was formula fed, all those things. So she wasn't a super crunchy mom or someone but there was room for that period in time. I think she was enlightened, but I feel now my soul journey, it's a little bit more. So my upbringing was good in that sense. This is going to sound crazy, but not crazy if you're a spiritual person. I believe that one of my past lives, I must have been a shaman, a healer. Just, it's in my DNA.
Yes. Wait, can I sidetrack really quick? Because you sent me your birth chart information. Usually at the beginning, I ask what's your big three? So your big three, first things first, you're Scorpio. You probably already know that. Scorpio sun. You have a Sagittarius moon and a Leo rising. So there's one point in your birth chart that we can look at that points to past lives, how you spent a past life and you have it in a chart or in an area in your chart that rules, most likely in a past life you were a preacher, a philosopher, a teacher, a shaman, a priest, something like of a higher power, and in this lifetime you're meant to use your voice and teach people, maybe more on like either a communicative like realm, either within your community, or you're meant to like write books, publish books, using your voice for sure.
I have literal chills because I know I speak to God in my own words, the divine source. And I'm like, I know you put me here because I know you put me here to use my voice, because when you feel that burning urge inside of yourself, I need to awaken people. I need to enlighten people. I need to use my voice.
Yes.
I know that that's my sole purpose. So you saying that is crazy. And I'm working on an ebook actually for
Oh yeah,
unmedicated birthing.
that's
It's not
awesome.
dropped yet, but like, so you're saying that, I'm like, check, like using my voice.
Yes.
It's so accurate, these things, though. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, no, I just had to throw that in there. Prior to this, we were talking about how we just feel like a purpose of like spreading our message and using our voice. So as soon as I looked at your chart, I was like, what in here is that? And first things first, you have a lot of Scorpio placements, which is a very like passionate energy. I have a Scorpio rising as well. So we're meant to move with a lot of passion in this lifetime. Like if we're not doing something that we're passionate about, it's like bored. Yeah, what am I doing? Why am I here? Like we just can't just do the mundane things. And if we are, we feel very unsatisfied in life. Passion is very, very important. And then you have a point that is called the North Node. And that's just a point that represents our highest destiny, our life's purpose, is our highest self. And you have that in an area that rules communication, using your voice, connecting, social media, writing, books, teaching. So yeah, I definitely see that for you.
That is awesome. And I feel it. Also, I'm into numerology too. I understand numerology maybe more than the birth chart. The birth chart, I'm like, whoa, this is a lot of like whatever. So I'm so
Yeah.
happy that you are able to read it, because that is just awesome. But so like my life, what's crazy is my life path is an 11. My soul number
Mm-hmm.
is an 11, and I was born on 11/11. So I
Yeah.
got like straight like master numbers, and I'm like, all right, I've mastered lives. I came here to awaken the collective consciousness on whatever level. It's so crazy because you can literally see it in the stars. You could see it in the stars.
Yeah.
You could feel it in your bones. Like you could feel it in your intuition, you know? Kind of numerology, astrology is very similar.
Yeah, they're all like different ways to like decode and like a different way to read, I guess, this matrix that we're in. That's how I think of astrology. Like when I got into astrology, I was in college. I was studying psychology and I just picked up an anthropology minor. So this entered my life at like the perfect time because I was expanding my mind. At the time, I was taking an anthropology class where I was learning about Eastern medicine, and then astrology entered my life and it just made me understand the world and people on a completely different realm. It just completely cracked into like a whole other way of understanding people. And then also reading the energy, predicting what's going to happen. Like it's just another way how to work and decode through the matrix. Like that's how I view it. And it broke like a little bit of a spiritual awakening inside of me, but astrology isn't a spiritual practice. It's an observation of patterns. I think a lot of people get that confused because a lot of people are like, oh, you're into astrology. Like, how woo-woo are you? And I'm like, I know so many astrologers who are not spiritual or religious at all.
Don't study astrology or whatever, but you could be the most spiritual person. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like,
I also
so
know
it
people like that as well.
you can't ever, people like to judge and people like to like put labels on things, but I think once you go through a spiritual awakening, you understand that it's not so black and white. This world is technically coded in numbers and
Yeah,
words. So
numbers.
it is like seriously like a matrix, you know? For me, I went through many spiritual awakenings. I had two big spiritual awakenings. All of this sounds a little woo-woo, but I truly do feel like I get
No,
downloads
I
from
love it. I completely
past
understand.
lives. Like I have dreams. Like that's the thing. Like I don't need to practice. Like I know a lot of people do divination and witchcraft, and I'm not like shading that by any means. I don't. I just literally talk to the divine source and I just get downloads like through dreams, through just in my head, like I don't know,
Me
my spirit
too.
guides,
Mm-hmm.
my angels and my spirit guides. So that's how I connect, you know. You tap into that, like your intuition, that is the God inside of you because that's our soul and our soul is connected to the divine. So when you tap into that and when you meditate, I meditate a lot, you're able to tap into the other realms. A lot of people are fixated on physical world, but I'm like, no, this our soul is eternal.
Yes. Either physical worlds, or there's also, now that we're starting to see a lot of spiritual and religious psychosis happening right now. So that's the other extreme, where now you're too much in the almost la la land or delusion of surrendering, that you're just not grounded. So keeping that balance is also really important too, because I've seen a lot of people, like different spiritual communities that I've entered, that have gone too much to the other side, where it's like, all right, but we still need to maneuver.
Is you have to find a balance. You can't, any extreme is bad. You know, if
Yeah.
you're too religious, that's not good. If you're too not religious, that's not good. If you're too spiritually in the clouds, you have to have a middle ground. Like I know a lot. I decoded, like I know a lot about the Matrix. You know, we could go down the rabbit hole of big pharma, holistic
Mm-hmm.
healing, HollyWEIRD, overconsumption of consumerism, all of these things. But at the end of the day, you can be awakened and aware and avoid those things. But don't be too crazy where you're not living life and now you're depressed and now you're like, oh, like I'm
Yeah.
never having an ice cream again or something. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you have to find a middle ground. Like it's
Yeah.
important. You know, that's
100%.
with
Or else you're just
anything.
gonna go insane, because sometimes when
Yeah.
I go down the rabbit hole for too long of a time, I feel
Yeah.
myself sometimes going insane too. So yes, keeping that balance and remembering that balance is definitely important. I think we're seeing a lot of people leaning too far one way because of just like spiritual psychosis, but also just the propaganda that's being spewed out, like what is even real
Yeah.
anymore, the
Yeah.
information, what is real that we're receiving, is anything real, like everything that we're seeing is just fake, and
Simulation.
it's being,
Mhm.
yeah, simulation. It's causing us to divide. Like that's 100% what
And I
we
believe
want.
like in duality and two things could be true at the same time, you know?
Yes.
So those things exist too. And that everything, that source, that God is ultimately doing everything for our ultimate benefit. Even the bad that happens to us in our life is
Mhm.
there to actually teach us. I study a lot of Kabbalah. It's like esoteric teachings. And it talks about past lives, reincarnation. If you incarnated in this life, you actually, like, we believe that you chose your parents. It's going to sound crazy,
Yes.
but we all have soul contracts, right? So when we're up in the ether, we see, okay, I'm going to live here. I'm going to be this religion. I'm going to be born into narcissistic parents. You come down and you forget all of that knowledge. Because when you're a soul, you're not bound by body, time, space, nothing. Time is not linear.
Hmm.
So when you incarnate, now here's the mission. Like, why do I have these parents? Well, if you have an abandonment like wound, that is something that you have to rectify in this life. So instead of cycling into that pattern, you have the opportunity to choose, no, I'm breaking that cycle. And so that's
Yeah.
why a lot of bad things happen, but they're actually not bad. They're to for your soul to evolve. And so that's very much like helps me even in the midst of all the craziness. I'm like, all right, there's a purpose, there is a God, there is good, but
Hmm.
duality. And really, with our voices, with people like you and I, we can uplift the collective consciousness, break out
Yeah.
of these matrix, tell people your power is within. You know,
Yes.
you came here with a purpose. Let's lift it up. Let's break the matrix. Let's awaken people. And so,
Hmm.
slowly, slowly, you shift the tides from the evilness in the world to good.
Yes. And that mentality is a huge reason why I feel so passionate about spreading my word and my experiences and connecting with people like you, because it has lifted me out of so many dark time periods in my life. Like when I think of myself prior to having that mentality shift of, okay, I was reincarnated here and these are my life lessons. This is my karma. This is what was handed to me because I'm supposed to heal this and do X, Y, and Z. And this is my mission. This is my purpose. Astrology was a big reason that helped me into that, but also learning about different religions and just being a spiritual being in general the past definitely 5 years. When I think of who I was prior to that, it was just such a dark mentality, just in a cycle. And when you have the spiritual awakening, you look at everyone else around you and you can see who's awoken and who's not. And it's very hard. You can't force a spiritual awakening on someone, but you can tell your stories, but it's hard. It's like you want to shake them. And it's like, stop thinking like that. Ever since I had that spiritual awakening, every time I go through a hard, rough patch or a really dark period in my life, it's not as dark or as bad as I just used to be, because I have such a different mentality, and I lean on my spirituality, and it just really helps me in so many ways. So I think it's very life-changing. So yeah, I definitely want to continue spreading this message to everyone. I think it's really important. And I'm not even saying which gods to believe in or whatever, but it's believing in a source and believing in a higher power, having spiritual practice and stuff like that. That is what's truly important. I'm never going to dictate X, Y, and Z, and you need to do this, and that. But like what you said, leading by example is 100% what I do.
Probably before your spiritual awakening, it was dark. If bad things are happening to you and you have no sense of spirituality, you're going to be like, what the F? But if you're spiritually tapped in and tuned in, you're like, okay, this is because you understand that that's a part of life, that's
Yeah.
the cycle, that it could be karma, that it could be, your soul growing, evolving. So you have to go through these bad situations. So if you ever realize there's this tenet in Kabbalah, before a big breakthrough, there's this level of darkness. So you can even say for example, starting the podcast, there's this level of self-doubt, limiting
Mm-hmm.
beliefs, da 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 da. And that is that dark force. But once you break
Yeah.
through, you get to the light and it's amazing and opportunities flow. So all that, but when you understand that, you live a happier life because it's not happening to you, it's happening for you, you know?
Yes.
So that makes you a happier person. Otherwise, you'll be bitter, miserable.
Causes you to always have a light at the end of the tunnel. I learned this when in one of my psychology classes on mental illness. In a lot of people who are suicidal, the number one emotion that they feel is the feeling of hopelessness. It's never going to get better. That you are so far deep in a dark hole that you can't there's not even a speck of light. The knowing of there's a higher purpose for this and a higher power that's going to guide me and wants better for me, it really does help. It really does. There will always be a light at the end of the tunnel, even if you are going through a very harsh time, a really dark time period, a lot of rough things are happening. If you have that foundation within you, you will always get out of it, and 10 times better on top of that as well.
When you go through something, it's kind of similar in a sense of natural birthing.
Mm-hmm.
And because my mindset is like that, and I have a very holistic view on the world and everything, it's like it was so painful, but I came out of that 10 times stronger. And it's the same thing when you go through a dark night of the soul and you come out of it, you're actually stronger than you were. You're like, yo, I
Yeah.
got through that. I could get through anything. It's duality.
And you can't have dark without light, and you can't have light without dark.
Exactly.
Do you have a point in where you had a spiritual awakening?
Yeah, I do. I do. There was two main spiritual awakenings. One was recent when I birthed
Mm-hmm.
my daughter. Um,
Mm.
the first one, okay, so the first one was when my sister passed away when I was
Okay.
18.
Mm.
So I was always spiritual. I remember going down rabbit holes of the 9/11. This wasn't actually the way it said. I could go down the whole thing, it was an inside job, whatever.
Yeah.
So I always had that level of consciousness, even as a kid, right? But so that was the first one. I lost her and I got closer to religion and spirituality. What happens when people pass, like why? And so I found that there's no such thing as death. It's rebirth and it's a
Mm-hmm.
cycle. You don't ever die because your soul is eternal. So when you die, you're actually being reborn. It's a cycle, right? So I started delving down that awakened me. From that to going down big pharma. Also,
Mm-hmm.
what alluded to that probably was my sister. You know, she went into a rehab and they prescribed her more pills,
Ugh.
you know, and she suffered with depression, like we were talking about. She
Yeah.
felt hopelessness. So, like, I can relate to so many different things on so many different levels because I've seen it.
Yes.
And I realized that they don't actually want to help. They You go in for, okay, I have a problem with Xanax, and then they give you 30 other pills. How is that helping? You know,
Yeah.
that is not helping. They're not teaching you meditation. They're not teaching you about your soul. They're not teaching you breath work. They're not giving you herbs, you know, and that in return actually killed her. And then I went down the rabbit hole of Hollywood and the vibration, the energetic frequencies that they put in music to keep you depressed, low vibrational, scared. The media, news, I don't trust it. I don't watch the news. Like, it's all a
Yeah.
lie.
Me
Like,
either.
it's
Yeah.
like from big pharma, and then I went down the rabbit hole, the rock of, I don't know if I could say the names, whatever. You know, they in the 1900s, prior to the 1900s, we used regular herbs that God put here, certain, you know, and they couldn't profit off of it. So
Mm-hmm.
they were like, get rid of it out of the schooling system, wipe it out of the hospitals, use petroleum based medicine, which is not a cure because the real cure is spiritual, like energetic, and using nature.
Mm-hmm.
You can't profit off of nature. And like the trafficking of the children, all of that, like I don't know if you know, like all of that, the toxins that they put in the foods to keep you, the fluoride that they put
Yeah.
in the toothpaste and everything to for your, you know, pineal glands and all that. Like
Yeah.
there's it's just once you, like, I feel like I awakened, it just one thing starts to shut and another thing starts to shut and another thing, and then you're like, whoa, everything's an illusion, everything's a lie.
Yeah. And then you want
And
to rip
what
everything out of your house and like
yeah.
replace it with everything. Because even when you look at what everything that in the supermarket is from the same six companies, like how is that even possible? So I try to stay away.
Consumerism. It's
Yeah.
all, you need this and you need that. You really don't. Take vinegar, take essential oils. And what I realized from all of
Yeah.
this, go back to nature. We're sold this idea that you need X, Y, and Z. You need all of these things. You don't. You
Yeah.
don't.
It's
It's
very
all about
true.
like it's we overcomplicate things. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be that hard, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
My mom always cleaned the floor. My mom, my grandmother with vinegar, water and
yeah.
vinegar.
Yeah. Put
Like
essential,
old
like the vinegar,
school.
put essential. Yeah. Like,
Yeah. So with me, my spiritual awakening into everything with holistic healing and natural remedies and turning more into that realm and what cracks my, you know, my rose-colored glasses, what the type of food that they're feeding us, you know, everything that's just corrupt with everything is processed now, all the colored dyes that's in food and stuff like that. When I think about how I used to eat, crazy to how I eat now, completely different. It's 2019. 2019 was just a completely upside down year, and I was diagnosed with PCOS in 2019. Go on birth control. That's the first thing that they tell you. They don't know anything. Like the research of women's health is so low. So 2019, I was 21. I was never on birth control prior. I just innately never wanted to be on birth control. There was like certain things that I just innately always felt. Even with things like taking, you know, like medication just because I have a headache or something. Like, no, I'll tough it out or I'll try to feel better another way. I was always like that. I don't know.
it's your soul knowing truth.
Yeah. So knowing what I know now, that's like what I feel as well. What causes it? How can I help in other ways if I don't want to go on birth control? Da 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 da. No, just go on birth control because I wasn't getting my period for like 6 months at a time. So they're just like birth control so you can get your period. And I felt like it didn't help anything. I was just bleeding every single month. But even when you think about it, that's not even your real period. It's just you're not taking the birth control for a week. So yeah, you're going to bleed.
And you know, the PCOS and all of that, It's because we're overloading our system with toxins.
Yeah, and
Like
hormones and
body
stuff.
lotion. Your skin is your largest organ. You're putting so many people put Bath and Body Works, all of these endocrine disrupting chemicals. The doctors will never tell you that.
Yeah.
They'll never tell you that. They cannot provide you a cure because they literally push the disease. They
Mm-hmm.
literally perpetuate. That's not a cure. Take birth control. That's horrible. Do you know what it does to your system?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
Yeah.
insane.
I have so
And so
many
you have
I
to be
am
your own doctor.
Fast forward 2021, I was like, I want to get off of birth control. I came across a page, a PCOS page, and it was so odd. And I actually made a TikTok video about this years ago, but I was like, I feel like I manifested this because I did it under a specific new moon. And I was like, okay, I want to lose weight because I wasn't losing weight. If anything, I got to a point where I gained so much weight. I was puffy in the face. I was so bloated. I was the heaviest I ever was in 2020. And I want to lose weight. But I want to do it like in a healthy way. I manifested this. Literally a week later, I came across a page randomly that was like a PCOS health page. And this woman healed herself through a gluten-free and dairy-free diet and like all these other things that she did, healed herself holistically without birth control or nothing. I followed like just a gluten and dairy-free diet, and I was continuing my gym routine because I was always in the gym, but I was gaining weight and I was like the unhealthiest that I ever was. Like within less than 6 months, I lost like 30 pounds. I was like the healthiest and the fittest I ever was. And I was consistently getting my period. I was off birth control. My period came back. It was regular. And I felt the best I ever felt. My PMS wasn't bad. That's another thing with PCOS. Like my PMS used to be terrible. Gluten and dairy free, but also stopped eating processed foods, high sugar foods, foods with all these dyes in them. I would have my cheat days and stuff. I wasn't like so strict. You want to, still enjoy life, but that really put me down a rabbit hole of everything with health because I was like, wow, I can't believe that. And I would even go to my gynecologist and I was like, I healed myself through a gluten dairy free diet. They were like, well, I'm glad that worked for you. There's not much research about it. And I'm like,
Like they are just like they're zombies. They're
yeah,
freaking zombies. It blows my mind. I'm like, yo,
yeah.
these people, that's why I don't trust doctors. Same thing with the birthing. Like, good if you need like life or death situations, you got a cracked bone, femur, whatever. But in terms of actually healing and find a cure, they don't have that because they're reading out of the Rockefeller book. So they don't know. But in my mind, I'm like, how do you not question? How do you not say, hey, what is causing this? There has to be a cure. And just here, take this, take birth control. Like there has to be a level of consciousness.
I'm not going to disregard like all of Western medicine. I think there's a lot that was great that happened, obviously, throughout the years. But once I learned a lot about Eastern medicine as well, and I learned about this prior to everything, my diagnosis with PCOS and everything. But I think that past knowledge of learning about different ways of healing and holistic health and just Eastern medicine in general and learning about herbs and stuff like that, healing through herb. Now that's what I'm into, My first things first, if I feel a cold coming on, I lean on the herbs and natural remedies.
It's a business at the end of the day, and a patient cured is a customer lost. That's what it comes down to. And everything, and that's why, like for me, when I really think about how I look at the world, it comes back to centering yourself in nature once again. Like we weren't supposed to be designed in this world of over processed food, over consumption of items, even clothing was made differently back in the day. It was made from
Mm-hmm.
cotton, wool, linen. Those actually have energetic frequencies that heal your body.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're wearing plastic. Plastic, when you're sweating in it, can directly link to hormonal imbalances, cause infertility. All the fragrances, everything is synthetic. You get everything you need in nature. Essential oils, you want your house to smell good. Perfumes, you can use essential oils. There's ways, but we've gotten to a system where we're so reliant, or people are so reliant on the matrix instead of tapping into what's real.
Yeah.
And that's what they want. They want to keep you asleep. They want to keep you low vibrational. And once you awaken to this, you're empowered. you can heal yourself like you did, that is a
Mm-hmm.
threat to their system. We have to understand the people in charge of the CDC are the same people behind big pharma. It's all cronyism. So they'll look
Yeah.
at you and be like, well, there's no research, but who's doing the research? It's all a system and they're all together. It's like the top elite and then we're the peasants down here. It's like
Yeah.
all of them versus us. It's not us down here. It's divide and conquer that they try to do to keep us fighting here, and the elite are laughing up there because they're like, yo, look at these people. Like, but when you
Yeah.
awaken on so many different levels, you understand like it's actually the 1% versus like all of us.
And I've been trying to spread the message of like, oh my God, we need to wake up, like, power to the people. There's more of us than it is them. Astrologically, there's a placement that's happening. It's called Pluto in Aquarius. Last time that Pluto was in Aquarius, it was the revolution and the creation of this country, basically. So there, a lot of people have been predicting that there's going to be a revolution. And there's two ways that this can go down. There's going to be like, you know, a complete shift in our society where we're just more sheep, or people are going to wake up and, you know, power to the people, and we kind of regain our power, and now they have to shift for us. So this is why there's been a lot of sayings that there's been a spiritual war happening, because a lot of people are awakening. They're getting scared about that. So there's, you know, they're going to now start shifting a lot within us. But yes, fear tactics.
Fear tactic they can to keep you low vibrational because they don't want us waking up.
Yes.
But I feel like we're waking up as a collective.
I feel like a lot of people are waking up for sure. And even us just like, you know, using our voice to spread the message to other people as well. Because, you know, a lot of people are, whoever thinks it's woo-woo thinks it's woo-woo until something happens and it tugs on their heart cord, on their heartstrings, and then they're like, oh, okay. Like whether it's something within health or something with the Hollywood or, you know, whatever, media, yeah.
People that were sleeping, and like I just post like things to my story or whatever, and I've been speaking about this for a long time, and they're all like, yo, I see it now. Took years, but they're
Yeah.
sending, I have so many people sending me messages being like, do you see this? And do you see that? I'm like, girl, welcome to the awakening.
Yeah,
Welcome,
literally.
like,
Hop
welcome.
on board.
Hop on board.
Hop on
So
board,
I
baby.
think there is a shift, and whenever there is a shift, there has to be a world stage. So how I look at it and how it is that there's a world stage and there's characters. The politicians are characters. They make this illusion that there's a left and there's a right, but there really isn't, because the bird, in order for the birds to fly, you need the left wing and the right wing. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's and they try to divide you on race, religion, political status. And so every few years they have to do a ritual in order to play on your heartstrings. So whether you're on the left, the George Floyd, or whether you're on the right, the Charlie Kirk. But I am awakened enough to be like, mm-mm. In the beginning, it affected me, and now I'm like, no, 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 I'm taking my power back, because they want to keep you, and it's also a
Yeah.
ritual. The time that they do it, they want to keep you low vibrational. Oh my God, look what they did. It's like, no, take your power back. This is a character in a world stage, okay? And they killed off
Yeah.
this character. They want to get something out of it, whether it's power, more division, energy harvesting, whatever the hell. And you got to just be like, no, I'm standing in my divinity.
Yeah.
I'm not falling for it. I almost did, but I'm not.
I almost did with the Charlie Kirk things, and not me having the knowledge, I was able to pull myself out of it, but it's so hard being a spiritual being, you know, maneuvering through the matrix, especially when other people are asleep around you. But everything with the Charlie Kirk thing has been so interesting to me because it's awakening a lot of people. And, you know, I didn't like Charlie Kirk. I didn't really stand for anything that he stood for. Didn't think he should have died in the way that he did. I think that's, you know, terrible. But there's a lot that's coming out about that, and that's waking up, you know, the both sides. And when both sides are awoken, it causes us to come together. So that's why everything that's happening is very interesting. But at first with the death, and then just seeing, you know, some people come out the woodworks of their true beliefs, and you're seeing true colors of how people truly feel about certain things. And I'm a part of the LGBTQ community, so just seeing some people's even beliefs on that, and just people very sleep within their own religion because I believe in God. I grew up Catholic. They're so brainwashed to what they think God is, or like what God really means, and it's not a white man with blue eyes. Like it's not. So, and the Bible was translated so many times.
Also, that's also part of like the programming to keep you stuck in the matrix, to give away
Yeah.
your power instead of understanding that God is obviously there's a higher, intelligence that rules the earth, but God is within you. Like, why am I worshiping a person? Like that again is a form of matrix control. And
Yeah.
it's hard because a lot of people are really, really like, you can't tell that to people because they'll be like, oh, you
Yeah,
know, but
exactly.
it's
So
true.
I was getting really, at one point, a little worked up because there were some people close to me where I'm just like, oh, you're so asleep. Like, I just can't even take it. And then I was like, oh my God, they're harvesting on this low frequency right now because everyone is feeling this low frequency or in this low vibration and in this fight mode, fight or flight, depressed, sad, like angry, fighting each other, whatever. So I snapped myself out of it and I was like, okay, I need to take a step back. This is like what you said, a character in a game. We're in the Matrix. I also thought it was set up from the jump that I saw the video, just a intuitive feeling that I had.
Blame it. They're like, yeah, it's the trans. Like, I don't like to. Okay, I don't like to subscribe to these belief systems because then that's where the division comes into place. Yes, you can lean more a certain way in your belief systems. Like, do you think more conservative? Like, you value, or do you think more whatever? But I see what they're trying to do now. They're trying to say, oh, the LGBT. Come on. Like, I see what
Yeah.
you're trying to do, man. And they do the
Yeah.
same thing on the left, though. Oh, it's the white people and it's come on. Like, it's
Yeah.
all a game and you guys are falling for it on both sides of like, oh, God.
Yeah, and also like people need to realize that you're not gonna agree 100% with everyone on every single thing. Like a lot of the times people like feel one way and then because they grew up one way. So that was like my shift that I had a couple weeks. I lifted myself out of the place of anger and annoyance and I shifted into a place of feeling empathy and understanding that people, especially not awoken people, they only know what they know because of how they grew up. If you think like that was me until my spiritual awakening, until I was 22, 23, like I only knew what I knew because that's how I grew up. That was my bubble. That was my one perspective of life. I didn't know anything else until I reached out and I explored or I was curious or I learned. And, a lot of people don't have that curiosity, don't have that awakening, don't have that. They feel like that their truth is the truth and that's that. And that's the problem. There's too many people with their one perspective in power.
You're brought up with these certain belief systems and sheltered and, certain things. I feel like there's different soul groups, right? And some souls incarnate and they're just sleeping. And then there's the other souls that come here to spread truth and to awaken because you're actually remembering, because your soul knows everything.
Mhm.
And so you're actually here to remember. And so I believe that there are some souls here remembering, waking up and understanding. And then there are other souls that just not, because why, if I grew up in a certain way, but I'm able to see out of it. And why are other people not able to do that? Maybe it's not in this life, maybe it's in the next. But I find myself a truth seeker, like for a
Mhm.
while. And there's certain people that are just not. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But our mission is to spread what we know and lead by example. And either people will take it or they won't. But there will be people that it will resonate with. And that it will change, it will awaken people. And you have to go through the PCOS thing to awaken, to be like, hey, wait, my power is within. My power, let me not eat processed food. Let me, you know, come back to nature. And it's like that with everything. The system is put here to keep you enslaved. Girl, this
Mhm.
mother effer doctor, what he told me, I told him that, and this was another spiritual awakening. So when I found out I was pregnant. I was watching a podcast episode. No, before I found out I was pregnant. And I knew I always wanted to do a natural birth because that's in alignment with what I believe. I believe like the indigenous people are living right, like the Native Americans, like all of them, they had it right. They were connected to source. They used herbs. Like I honor, like
Yeah.
I look at them and I'm like, I love that. I was watching this podcast episode and it was talking about astrology. And it was talking about how a lot of times souls incarnate into the same family line because there's karma, there's karmic energy that needs to be repaired, whatever. So I heard that. That stuck with me. And then a day later, I do hair. So I was with my client and she goes, and I nothing's a coincidence. Everything is destiny and everything is supposed to happen for a reason. She goes,
Mhm.
why don't you check to see if you're pregnant? Something along that. And I'm like, random, but like, okay. So I'm sitting in bed and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning and I get the urge. And I'm like, I think I'm pregnant. So I go check and I'm pregnant. I get the line. I'm like, whoa, like, okay. So now I kept getting download after download after download. I was listening to a podcast and I was not a podcast, a meditation. I was closing my eyes and I got this download into my head and it was a piece of my soul is being reincarnated. All right. As I had that download, the meditation like synced. Like that download in my head,
Mhm.
like 2 seconds later, it said that. And I'm like, I had the chills all over my body. I'm like, okay.
That's crazy.
Now, my due date was April 18th. Okay. My sister passed away when I was 18 in April. So I'm like, okay,
Mm.
that's another correlation. Um, I had so many things I was like talking about. I feel like it is. And I had her license plate. I was walking, and as I'm saying it could be a reincarnation, I saw her initial on a car, LJ, and then 11, which is my birthday, like 11/11. So I'm like, all right, that's me, and that's my
Mhm.
sister, LJ, and 11/11. Because like God will throw you signs, but you have to be awakened to it. If you're not awakened
Yes.
to it, you're just like, like you're just falling asleep. But once you're awakened, you're like, oh, and you get the signs. Situation after situation, that was just like proving like she could be reincarnation. Like she could, you know. So one day I'm driving and I'm like, I was 9 weeks at this point, and I'm like, okay, she's a soul. I didn't even know it was a girl. Like I didn't have physical proof that it was a girl, but I said, I know it's a girl. I know this baby is a
Yep.
girl. I was 9 weeks. Most people have not a clue. I was like, this is a girl. Okay. And my sister's her Hebrew name was Leah, okay? So
Mm.
I knew I wanted to name her something like that, but not exact because her life was short. So I didn't want to shorten her life by giving her that name, you know?
Mhm.
So I know that I wanted to use some of it, but not the whole thing. So I'm like, what do you want your name to be? And I'm in the car and I'm like, what do you want your name to be? And I kid you not, a car comes right in front of my car and it says Leah, Lea. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, your name's going to be Leah from 9 weeks. And then it was a confirmation that it's a girl. And that was my sister's kind of name, except there was no H at the end of it, but it was Lea, like just different pronunciation. When I was 8 months pregnant, I had this dream. So my sister would come to me. I would dream of her and I would get downloads from her, like when things were serious, like when she really needed to tell me, she's come to me. And it's not even a dream. It's like she descends down and I ascend up. We're in a different unit. We're in a different dimension, straight up.
Yeah.
Because the soul travels the astrals when you're sleeping.
Mhm.
So I'm like dozing off and I hear this download in my head and it's saying, I'd rather a ghost than an intruder. Okay. So I'm like, okay, weird download, but I know this means something. So now I'm in the kitchen and I hear someone in the house, like an intruder. So I take a knife. She comes in, she walks in, I'm in the kitchen and she goes, you won't be needing this. It's me. And I'm like, what are you doing here? She goes, I'm having trouble incarnating. We're going to need to work together in your labor. I'm like, what? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, no, I rebuke it. Like, that there's no way. And she goes, there's going to be two pills. There's going to be a blue pill and a red pill. And if you know anything about the Matrix, blue pill
Yep.
is like sleep, red pill is like awakened. So I'm like, pills, like, what? And then she was showing me pressure points on my body, like pressing on my back, my over here, over there. And so now I'm like trying to decode this dream. I'm like, she came with a mission. She's trying to tell me something, right? So fast forward like 2 months after that, or a month after that, I was like 8 months at that point. A month after, my water breaks, whatever. And my mom happened to be here. My whole family happened to be here, and we're all separate. Like we don't live in the same state anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yo, imagine like I would, because I wasn't due that day. I was due the next week. And I actually did end up, going into labor then. And my mom, I didn't tell my mom the dream. My mom goes, I just heard Lindsay say I'm pushing through. I'm like, I'm like, okay.
That
Like,
is crazy.
yeah.
Oh my
And she didn't know
God.
about the dream. She didn't know about
Yeah.
the dream. So I'm like, okay, another confirmation. I have the chills. Um, so now what was crazy about my labor was my water broke, but I was 0 centimeters dilated. I was zero faced, meaning I wasn't experiencing contractions. I went into the hospital. The water broke, but I was closed. Like I wasn't dilated. Like the centimeter, your
Yeah.
cervix opens, dilated, like nothing. So I'm like, holy shit, this is what she's talking about, is she's having trouble incarnating. Because it wasn't like a normal situation. Usually your water breaks, you're experiencing contractions or whatever. Not I. The shit was closed. So now another thing that happened when I walked into, there were so many signs. When I walked in there, the first nurse that greeted me, she's like, what's your name? I'm like, Ashley. I'm like, what's yours? She goes, Leah. And I said, let me guess, you spell it Lea? She's like, yeah, how'd you know? People,
Wow.
and I'm like, okay. I'm like, all
Signs
right,
everywhere. Your
signs,
sister screaming at you. She's like, "Hello,
screaming.
I'm
It gets,
here."
it gets crazier. So I'm like, wow, okay. So now the doctor comes in and the doctor's like, you're going to have to take Pitocin and a cervix, and you're going to have to take a pill. He's like, you're going to have to take a pill. My sister told me in the dream that I was going to have to take a pill, but I had to choose. He
Hmm.
told me, and then I had to be on medication because strep B or whatever. So they were like, you have to choose right now. And I'm like, I have to choose? Like, and so that is why the medicine came into play. You're gonna have to take a medicine. You may have to go into the matrix a little bit and take this blue pill, something that I'm against.
Yeah.
I wanted to go completely natural. He was like, if you don't do it, you're gonna C-section. So I was like crying. I was like, fuck no, I want to be natural. So I took the Pitocin, which is horrible, by the way.
Hmm.
Horrid. Like if you want, and I still went natural, which is unbelievable because it's
What
really
is what is Pitocin?
okay. So Pitocin, in order to experience contractions, your body produces oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love hormone, the positive. So when you are experiencing contractions, you have you have the oxytocin. So yes, it's painful, but you have the oxytocin. It helps with the pain, right? So
Hmm.
Pitocin is a synthetic version of it, and it makes your contractions slam. So let's say you're supposed to have contractions every 3 minutes, every 5 minutes, every minute. Now you're experiencing them, boom, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, and you're being slammed and it's rushing the process. And for me, I'm like, when my baby
Oh,
decides to come, she's gonna come. I don't want, but when you're in the hospital system, they force you, you are in a way forced to do things with the system, which is fucked, but whatever. So I did it. And there comes a point where I'm alone. My mom and my husband leave, and I'm alone, and I'm just with the baby, and I'm talking, and I'm like, I know that you're in here, like you could be a reincarnation, Lindsay, like you could be, and I'm like saying in my head all of the connections that I've experienced in this pregnancy. I'm meditating and I'm communicating with my baby because people forget, like this is a soul that chose you. This isn't a medical, like they treat it like it's a medical sickness.
yeah.
No, you are ushering in a soul from heaven and bringing them earthside. It is the most supernatural thing that you can ever do.
Yeah.
So, um, meditating, talking to her, I was doing hypnobirthing, which is meditation for um, birth, so to say, and breathing techniques.
Hmm.
So, talking, my mom, my husband come back into the room, and a new nurse walks in, a nurse that I've never seen. She looks at me and she goes, she puts her arm on me and she goes, Lindsay, how are you feeling? mom, my husband, they were like, where did you come up with it? Where from where
Yeah.
to she's like, I don't know. It just came to me. That was my
So
sister's
she,
name. And my husband's like, do you have a patient here? Do you have coworkers here by that name? She goes, no, no one. I was
wow,
like, all right, I understand. I got it.
that is crazy.
Yeah. So it was like, I'm like, okay, this could be a reincarnation because, there's a lot of history there and she didn't live a full life and maybe now she's, meant to,
Yeah.
and for many different reasons or whatever. I'm not God, so I can't like say for sure, but I mean, the signs are there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it was insane. And I labored for 19 hours unmedicated. But it was the
How
most
was
powerful thing.
that?
Towards the end, it was very into like you have to enter into a different dimension, and it was the
Yeah.
most powerful, uplifting, beautiful. I would when I was in it, I was like, I'm never doing this shit again. Why do people do
Yeah.
this? And now I'm like, yo, I want to do it again. I want to do it
Yeah.
again. But
I
the
hear
Pitocin made it
that.
hard. The Pitocin made it really hard because, it's not natural. It's forcing your body into contractions. And that's why a lot of people get C-sections because the baby goes in distress. The baby's not ready. And you're
Yeah.
pulling the baby out before the baby's ready. Sometimes it's necessary, but they overuse Pitocin these days for sure. Experiencing a psychedelic, it's like if you've ever done
Yeah.
psychedelics, it's like a psychedelic experience. You have to tap into that. It is very psychedelic. When your body doesn't feel safe though, you won't open. And that's the thing. Like primally, indigenous people, they felt safe. They had their midwives, they had whatever. They were in their cozy space. That's why I brought my essential oils, my crystal, like starry lights. I tried to make it as comfortable as possible.
Yeah.
Next one, I definitely would want to do it like in a home at home in like a birthing bath or something like that.
Yeah.
But they totally take away from the spiritual side of it. And my doctor told me when I told him I wanted to go natural, he was like, good luck. He was like, do you want your baby being born on do you want your baby on the little boy bus? What do you think? You think, and he's like, you're going to need a doula. Your husband's going to be like worthless. He was like, what do you think? You're going to go to the forest and pop out a baby and it's going to be rainbows and butterflies. Like basically telling me natural is like, yeah, right for your first. I'm like, you don't know who
God.
I left there literally crying. I left there crying. And then I
Yeah.
went to a different doctor, but you don't know who I am. Like
And it
who
was a
says
man doctor.
it was a male? Of course. Yeah.
It's always the men.
Yeah. And I'm
The
like,
men
you
who don't give birth or get periods or know anything about anything that always
I'm
like
like,
have
you
the
don't know who
extreme
I am.
emotions. I've always had that feeling of wanting to give birth naturally. I don't have any children. At least one. I don't know about all my children that I have, but I don't know why. I just always had that feeling, that innate feeling that I just wanted to experience that.
Connects you to source, girl.
Yeah.
I truly feel like the epidural and all that stuff is demonic. I truly do. I'm very passionate about natural birthing, and that's what awakens me even more. That was like my second big awakening because I understood that we're all souls having a human experience. And it just, whoa, like I started tapping more into Kabbalah, understanding the incarnation cycles, understanding all of these things. And the medical system makes you fearful of the most spiritual thing ever. And what you're doing is like life force energy. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like you're bringing the world will stop if we don't have children. Like that's where it all stems from is birth.
Yeah.
And so the life and death, it's funny because I awakened when my sister passed and I went through another awakening
I
when I
was
birthed,
thinking that too.
when I birthed, whether it's her or not,
Hmm.
another major awakening. And I realized, wow, this system is really put there to instill fear. So many women are scared. Don't be fearful. Have faith. God
Yeah.
doesn't make any mistakes. If he made us able to give birth, then you need to trust in that. You need to surrender. And I learned the art of surrender, that I have to surrender. I don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen. The pain, I surrender to it all. And that is a very big awakening, is just the art of surrender.
Yes, I always say that too because I feel like I had two big spiritual awakenings, and one was 2020, and then one was actually last year. And my theme word after that like spiritual awakening last year, my theme for this year has been just surrender and seeing what comes in. And now I feel like I've been getting the message to kind of now to be in more of like a hustler mentality, if that makes sense. Like put in the work. Yeah. Exactly. Because I feel like the past 9 months, 9, 10 months, I was kind of like, all right, sat back and I'm like, what does the universe want to show me right now? What does the universe want to enter my life, and what does it want to shift, instead of me like always needing control and trying to grasp control or reasoning out of everything? Like, let me just like see where the pieces fall in a way. And then now recently I'm just kind of like, all right, let's put these pieces of a puzzle together. Let's put it into motion. Yeah. So
Inspired action, because you need, obviously you need to surrender and all these things, but God also wants you to take inspired action if you feel a calling. And that's also been heavy on my heart is I surrendered, I'm doing this, but I also feel this calling that action needs to happen because you
yeah,
need to show the universe and God, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for this next step. Because if you just talk and you never do, it's like almost like you're actually sabotaging yourself.
sabotaging, wasted potential. I've seen that in a lot of people close to me. Wasted
It's
potential.
a
It's
scary
very,
thing.
yeah,
Scary.
it's very,
That's one of my fears.
yeah. I've been getting a lot of feelings of deja vu lately, like since I moved to this apartment. Yes, I've been trying to explain that to my friends.
So the timeline, the past, present, and future are not linear. They're all happening simultaneously. So when you're having deja vu, it could be you're in alignment to where you need to be. You've experienced this, and your soul is like tracking it. Like, oh shit, like I've been here, I've done this, or I'm in alignment with where I need to be. And that's deja vu, is your soul remembering and awakening, you
Mm-hmm.
know? It's
Yeah.
very,
Remembering.
yeah,
And almost
yeah.
like a meant to be type of thing. Like
Oh
no
yeah.
matter when I get senses of deja vu, it snaps me back and I'm like, okay, no matter what path I kind of took in life, like I've lived this before and I'm exactly where I'm meant to be type of thing.
Oh yeah.
And I've been getting a lot of that messages recently.
When you sit with yourself and you really like tune all the noise out, you tune everything out, and you say, like, and you really connect to source, there's no distractions, and you just talk like you're talking to me, to the creator, and be like, how do I feel right now? How does what I'm doing make me feel? And you literally just ask or call upon your spirit guides, like, spirit guides, is this, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And they will show up for you. And I'll give you an
Mhm.
example of that. I had my baby and I do hair. So I do a lot of like it's called pro addiction. It's like straightening treatments, but I took a break because it's chemical, like it's very oxymoron because I'm very against chemicals. And here I am. This is my bread and butter. But I know it's
Yeah.
not good. It doesn't have formaldehyde, but I know it's not good, you know? And so I was like, I'm calling on my spirit guides. Like, what do I do? Like, how do I take clients where? Because I was living in Brooklyn and I was doing it out of my house. Now I don't want to bring it in my house. All the things, right? And I called upon my spirit guide, and I didn't know who my spirit guide was. I had no idea. I don't know who my angel was. I felt like before it was my sister, but now my sister's not coming through because I think it's incarnate.
Oh.
But anyways,
Yeah, I
that's
think so too,
another.
honestly. Just all the signs were pointing
Yeah,
to that, but
yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, so I'm talking, I'm in the car and I'm like, spirit guide, lead me. What should I do about this situation? Should I take this path and this path? Because I have many paths, and that is a blessing and a curse when you're
I
good
feel
at
that.
many things, you know?
Yeah,
Um, um, but that is my bread and butter. I need a song, like I need something, right? I get this urge. Now we moved when I was like 8 months pregnant. So I had boxes still. So in one of the boxes, I'm like, let me just, I was deciding to start to clean. In the box was the first thing that fell out was my grandma's cosmetology card. She had a salon. Okay. And I'm like, I was just asking for a sign, and it was like cosmetology, and I'm a cosmetologist, right?
uh-huh.
She passed away doing a client. Like she had a client, she was doing electrolysis. She passed away in the other room. She's like, I gotta go. She literally died working, like legit
Oh my
crazy.
God, that is
So I
crazy.
see that, and there's like hair, and she hasn't done hair in a like before I was born, she gave up the salon, but she was working out of her house doing electrolysis. So I was like, holy shit, what are the odds? I'm like, and I was calling upon a sign. I hit the remote because I don't really watch cable, right? And it went to cable and it said my grandma's name and it also was on QVC. Anyone who knows my grandma knows we used to watch QVC and HSN together all the time. Like that was her shit. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is my grandma. So then I go to text my mom, right? Like it's like 1 o'clock and I see she sent me messages that I didn't see. What does my mom say? Grandma and me and my mom are connected, man, because like
Yeah.
what the hell? Like same thing with like the dream, like how she's like, I feel Lindsay just told me she's pushing through. And so she told me, she's like, Grandma came to me today in a red cardinal. I feel her presence. And I'm like, and I didn't see that message until I went to go say, Grandma is coming through for me. So
Wow.
this shit is real. I come to say that because now I know obviously she's my spirit guide, my angel, and she gave me a mother freaking sign. Like, go
That's
for it. Like, do
crazy.
it, you know?
You have very
Crazy.
powerful spiritual women
Ancestors.
lineage on your side, on your,
Psychics. I actually come
yeah.
from a family of psychics. Yeah. So my
Oh, wow. I believe it.
great,
Yes, 100%.
yeah. So my like great grandma in Poland was a psychic who would help police find dead bodies. So she would work with the police to go find bodies. So of like murder victims, or they had no leads, they would use her. So
That's crazy.
it's definitely strong there.
That is crazy. Well, through the stories that you're telling me, and also on in your birth chart too, you have your Scorpio placements are in your like fourth house of it rules family, your lineage, your parents. So yeah, that's like you have a connection to your ancestry, like, and ways of communicating with them too, because you have the planet of communication in this area of your life. So you have like a direct line. You seem tapped in, and you could probably like there's always like more ways of like tapping in and like actually speaking and to your ancestors and communicating with them on the daily. I feel like you can definitely master that because you're getting it unintentionally. So if you intentionally like are speaking to them, I think that will be so powerful.
Like it's like I know this intuitively, but it's so amazing hearing you as somebody who's a learned, like, astrology. This is you, this is your bread and butter.
Hmm.
And you're telling me like, yeah, like, so all the things that I
Yeah, it's like
intuitively feel is
validation.
truth. It's
Yeah.
validation for all of these freaking things. And I'm like, wow.
This was such a great episode. This was such a great conversation with you. I'm so glad that
Yeah,
we met. Do you want to
me too.
spread or tell anyone like what you're working on? You said you're working on a book. I don't know if you want to talk
Yes.
about that more
So
or
yeah, so I'm basically working on a book about it's not out. So the name of it is Birth Without Fear, and it's all about tapping into, you know, uh, reclaiming your sovereignty and not falling into like being fearful, just surrendering, and all the tools, all the holistic things that I did to go unmedicated. The hypnobirthing, the pressure, the counter pressure techniques that kept me like alive through the whole thing.
Mhm.
Um, and as well as, I also have a brand. It's Ashton Lee. So I went down the rabbit hole of non-toxic living. So during COVID, couldn't take care of clients. So I was like, let me create non-toxic body products. So I started making
Ah,
soaps with natural oil, body butters, essential oils, um, certain herbs like calendula, chamomile, like everything is natural and a body butter. Um,
I
so I
love
have
that.
that. And hopefully I really want to get a podcast started. That's my like dream, my life's mission right there. So
Yeah.
hopefully, stay tuned.
I
But
can so
you could
see
just
you
follow
with
me on TikTok.
one because you
Yeah, like,
are one passionate and two, you have a nice voice. So
oh,
I could
thank
see you
you.
with one for sure.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So, but for now, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So you can find me in those
What are
places.
your handles for that?
Okay. So my handle for Instagram is Ashley Brooke with two E's, XO. Same for TikTok, Ashley Brooke, 2 E's XO. And then my YouTube is Get Real with Ash. Let me just Get Real with Ash 1111. That's my
Okay.
YouTube. So you can find all things to awaken the collective consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm so excited for you.
Like your skin is your largest organ. So think about it. If you're putting phthalates, endocrine disrupting chemicals, that's going straight into that's not good, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to create something. And so that was another, way of uplifting the collective consciousness by
I love that.
creating that.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
like
I want to
all
make the
like
world a better place. You know what I'm saying?
mind, body, and soul. You're like hitting all of them.
Body.
I
Yeah.
love it. Well,
Yeah.
thank
Oh,
you so
yeah.
much for hopping on here
Yes.
and
Thank
spreading
you.
awareness. I really appreciate you, and I really think people are really going to enjoy this episode. And I'm so glad
Me
that we got to
too.
connect.
Thank you so much. And hopefully we'll
Yeah.
be in touch. And I wish you nothing but the best. And I had so much fun. Really. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you so much. We will definitely stay
Thank you.
connected because I love everything that you're
Yes.
all about. So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you.